Greetings, everybody. I'm Michael. Welcome back to my studio and another video for how I podcast. Now, remember, I'm not going to tell you how to podcast. I'm just going to show you the tools and techniques I use, and perhaps you can glean something from it. You'll find something you can take away and use, and disregard and discard the rest. Last time we talked about my digital audio recorder, the Tascam DR05. If you haven't watched that video, here's a link up here in the corner. And this week I want to talk about microphone technique, because it's one thing to have your mixing board dialed in, proper levels, your digital audio recorder dialed in with the proper recording levels and everything. Your microphone is what's going to capture the sound, obviously. We all know that. And how important is microphone technique? Very, very, very important, as a matter of fact. Now, when I have somebody come into the studio, the first thing that I tell them when I'm getting them set up with their microphone is that I want them to keep the microphone at a 45-degree angle, give or take. Actually, take. I'll talk about that in just a moment. About a 45-degree angle from your mouth. Now, we all know what a 90-degree angle is. That's just a right angle, right? If we're looking at a clock, a right angle is going to be either 15 minutes or 45 minutes on the clock. Well, 45 degrees is just half of that, and so that equals about 7.5 minutes, not about, exactly 7.5 minutes, or 52.5 minutes, depending on which way you like the microphone to come towards your face. Now, if we say that our mouth is the center of the clock face, where the minute and hour hands are anchored and move around, positioned around the clock, then you want to have that microphone, again, at the 7.5 minute range or the 52.5 minute range, angling towards your mouth. What you want to keep away from is hitting the microphone straight on. I say you. I'm not supposed to be telling you how to do it. So every time I say you, just substitute I. This is how I do it, okay? I don't want the microphone hitting my mouth straight on, because that's going to drastically increase the chance of plosives. So when I say head on, I mean 58 minutes, 59 minutes, 0 minutes, 1 minute, and 2 minute, everything that the red X is covering. I don't want my microphone sitting there. I want it in this sweet spot between 2 minutes and 7.5 minutes, or between 52.5 minutes and 58 minutes, anywhere in that range, and we're going to be doing well, and we're going to, again, drastically reduce the chance of plosives. What are plosives? Well, when you say P or B and it gives that pop sound into the microphone or onto your recording, and we can hear it in our earbuds or on our car speakers or however we're listening to that audio, it's nasty. It's unpleasing. It takes us out of the moment. It's hard. It's jarring. And that normally happens on P's and B's, at least in my case. The P's and the B's, and pop filters help, but they are not going to completely alleviate it, especially this little foam type of pop filter. That's not much of a pop filter. That's really for me to keep spit off of my microphone. We're used to pop filters being this traditional style here, right? And this is on my condenser microphone, which I do not use for podcasting. I believe wholeheartedly that you should be using a dynamic microphone, such as my ATR 2100, Audio-Technica ATR 2100. I love this microphone, but as long as I am keeping that angle and I'm mindful of my plosives, which is basically, well, let's say this, sound is really boils down to a combination of frequency and pressure. And that plosive is a buildup of pressure behind your lips for a P or a B, right? And when it is released suddenly, it'll create that plosive sound. And so there's a good vocal warm-up that you can learn and that you can repeat to yourself throughout the day in order to learn to be mindful of your plosives, of your B's especially. This one, it goes along the lines of Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. A lot of B words in there. And I know that when I'm going to hit that B, I'm going to reduce the pressure behind my lips. You have to be it's being mindful. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. There are P word vocal warm-ups as well. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I think that I probably have more of a problem with B's, I think. But anyway, I do that throughout the day and keep that mindfulness, trying to train my mouth so that I don't even have to think about it. It just knows on P's and B's to reduce that pressure. Well, going along with the angle of the microphone, and also I like to have my microphone angled downward. I know a lot of people like their microphones angled up towards their mouth, but for me personally, if I have to look down at it and the microphone is angled up, that's going to increase plosives. I'm very anti-plosive, as you may have gathered. But along with the angle and being mindful of your plosives is the distance from your microphone. Now, I recommend a hand width, not a hand span, because a span is actually from your thumb to your pinky finger, that distance. And generally on an adult male, it's about 9 inches, but that has nothing to do with this. We're talking a hand width, your 4 fingers. Keep it about that distance from your microphone with a little bit of play in there. So distance, pressure, angle, and also the last thing I want to talk about is learning to work a microphone. What do I mean by working a microphone? I mean keeping that distance and the basic angle generally the same. Sometimes you have to move around the microphone. Sometimes there may be something behind the microphone that you have oh wait, I can't see that way, but if I turn just a little bit now I can see it, but I'm maintaining the same distance and generally the same angle within that yellow zone. The yellow zone is good. The yellow zone is for loading and unloading only. And I'm going to load my frequencies and air pressure into the microphone in the yellow zone. All of these things together will ensure that you get the cleanest, most dynamic recording in order to work with in your digital audio workstation of choice and produce a final product that is pleasing not only to yourself, but more importantly, to your listeners. Now, perhaps next time we'll talk about some vocal warm-ups. That's great for broadcasters and podcasters and things that you want to do before you even sit down behind the microphone in order to get your mouth loose and limber, get your voice range and dynamics dialed in, and continue producing top-notch quality. So if you found this video helpful at all, please give me a like down below. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel and click the little bell icon down there, and YouTube will notify you anytime I upload a new video. If you have any questions or comments, leave those below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Or perhaps it may be the topic of a future video. You never know. So I thank you for watching, and until next time, go out there and produce something.